start the session by reciting Al-Fatiha. We will always do that. Inshallah, Allah will bless our session. So let's all recite Al-Fatiha first. Okay, so I noticed that there's few students who have joined the WhatsApp group. I am expecting a few more students to join. If you've just joined, please make sure that you get yourself into the Google Classroom because it's more stable than iTalim. iTalim this week has a headache, a serious headache. So sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. If it's working, please make sure that you do your self-check attendance in iTalim. Okay, you have until 10 to do that, and it's not open immediately. I think it's open at 9 or something, 1 hour before. I'll check on that. Half an hour after the class, it's open, and you have until 10 to check. Is for self-checking. So if you miss the self-checking time, please inform me. Then I will take a look at. the attendance itself. In fact, if you're here, even Zoom has got an automatic attendance taking mechanism or attendance record. So I will double check your self-checking with that automatic one. The reason is that will show whether, never mind, that's another whole different story. So I've uploaded the assignment that you have to do for us. And the only thing that I've not done is to put you all in groups. Inshallah, I will do it next week once the class list has settled. Okay, we're working with groups of 3 people because that's a compromise between me and the other lecturers, other academics that is teaching this course. I insisted on a group work, no matter what. Okay, so let's begin. Let's talk about what management is all about. Okay, this is the first chapter of your textbook. Somebody has kindly shared her copy of the textbook on the WhatsApp group. So if you haven't come across that copy, whoever has come across, please share it. I am not supposed to encourage it, but well, it's okay. Okay, so use the version 15 because the version 14 book has got some major difference from version 15. So please use version 15. Why do you need to use a textbook? This is a reading subject. Reading subject means you need to be able to explain things. When we ask you a question, you need to be able to explain what is it, why is it important, how do you do this or how do you do that. All types of reading subject in the Kuliah requires an explanation. And the only way that you can explain things is if you're able to gain an understanding about the issue at hand. So reading the textbook and whatnot is kind of important. Okay, so this first chapter is on managers, and you in the workplace, you will either be a manager or you will be managed by a manager while you are working. Not everybody is suited for a managerial job, and not everybody wants a managerial job. For example, people with high need for achievement, we're gonna cover this when we talk about motivation, because their target to achieve certain things is so high, they are not suited to be managers. Okay, when they target performance, their performance is gonna be like way above. It's gonna be over the expected limit. It's gonna be so superior. Can you imagine if that person becomes a manager, the whole workforce will be quite stressful. So some people are suited to be managers, some people are not suited to be manager. Some people will be a manager because they maybe have contacts, political power, if you like. power in politics is kind of important for people to be managers. They have people who they know. Okay, those people will likely to get access to top managerial position and whatnot. Maybe you are liked by your supervisor, by your boss who's going to promote you. All those things will basically influence whether you become a manager or whether you will become a person that is managed by other people. Okay, so let's discuss what manager is all about. About 6 learning objectives for this what do you call it, this chapter. Okay, this is chapter 1, 6 learning objective altogether. We're going to start by describing who are managers and where do they work. Okay, so a manager is someone who coordinates and oversees the work of other people in the organization. If you don't understand anything, please stop me, please ask question. Okay, the best way to ask question is to unmute yourself and ask question. I will take my time if you're asking me question through chat. But you can also ask me question through chat. And if anybody notice that there is a chat question, just tell me there is a chat question, madam, and I will look at it, or you can tell me what it is. So technically, a manager is someone who coordinates and oversees the work of other people in an organizational setting, because the manager wants people to achieve the organizational goal. And all organizations have got a goal, an objective, a focus, what the organization wants to achieve. If you take, for example, IUM, we want to help build or rebuild the Muslim Ummah, make the Muslim Ummah greater. That's how I see the vision and the mission of the organization. We want to Islamize knowledge, meaning we want to include Islamization element in the knowledge and whatnot. And one of the most important goals that we have is create graduates or produce graduates, you guys, after you finish with the degree program at the university, that have the characteristics of khair. You are Khalifa, you are learned people, that's Ikra, you are Amana, being able to carry your duty, your responsibility, to understand that you are a trustee in this world, and Rahmatan Lillahi Ta'ala. Okay, that is the outcome of the SAF framework. So where do managers work? Managers work in an organization, okay, where it is a deliberate arrangement of people that will have a certain purpose. They are there to have a certain purpose. In this case, to achieve the organizational goal. Okay, so to help you guys to achieve, the organizational goal of IUM, our job as academy is to introduce to you Islamic element in all the courses that we are teaching. Any question?
No.
Okay, so moving on, this is the key characteristics of the organization. 3 important characteristics: distinctive purpose. There must be a goal or objective for the organization. Deliberate structure, indicating that somebody must be appointed as a manager who is supposed to tell people what to do and oversee the work of the other people. And there must be people. Okay, these people can be the managers, can also be non-managerial workers that carry out what needs to be done in the organization. Okay. Now, classifying managers, we actually have 3 levels of management. The bottom one at the bottom of the pyramid, they are not managerial levels. They are non-managerial employees. They are the one that takes instructions from the managers. Above them, you have 3 levels of management. The one that is closest to non-managerial workers are first-line managers. They are the one that oversees the work of non-managerial workers. Okay, above first-line managers, you have middle managers. Okay, Middle managers oversee the work of first line managers, and finally you have top managers. So if you take, for example, IUM again, now you take example of the Kuliah of Economics and Management Science. The top managers includes the Dean of the Kuliah, okay, which is Associate Professor Dr. Khairul Azmi Margani, I think. Okay, who are the middle managers? The middle managers are the deputy deans, the 3 deputy deans. You have the Student Affairs Deputy Dean, the Academic Affairs Deputy Dean, and the Postgraduate Deputy Dean, 3. For the first line managers, the first line managers, we have 2 levels of first line managers. The first one is head of department. The second one is the academic advisor. In the case of business administration, the head of the department is Dr. Dul Hadi. The academic advisor is Dr. Zarina Wanasir. Okay, those are example of managers in the various positions that are at KENMS. Okay, question? No question? Okay.
No, madam.
Okay, so why are managers so important? There are 3 reasons why managers are so important. You can see here. The organization needs somebody to tell them what to do. Okay, and they need the managerial skill and abilities. Now, especially as there's so many chaotic things that's happening around the world. Okay, managers do matter to the organization because they do affect the productivity, the outcome of the organization. And managers are people who get things done. Without managers, it's going to be quite difficult for you to get things done, to get people to actually do the things that can help the organization to achieve its goal. Unless you have a group of people in the organization that are so talented, so capable, who have developed certain skills, who have certain abilities, they know what they're doing. Those sort of people, you don't need to manage them. You just need to be there to provide support. So for these people, this type of people, the managers are there to support them, not to tell them what to do. Just tell them, we want to achieve this, and let them figure out how to achieve it. There are different types of people in the organization. Now let's look at why managers matter to the organization. Make a difference. Look at this. Okay, ultimately at the end of the day, managers leads to the organization's ability to achieve its goal. And if you're talking about business organization, we're always talking about business organization. It's about helping the organization to make profit. Okay, quality of employee-supervisor relationship also affects productivity and loyalty. People, if the people like their manager or their supervisor, they will work harder. If people don't like their manager or their supervisor, they will be a little bit more calculative in doing their work. Unless you force them to do it, they will not do it because they have a bad relationship or they don't like their supervisor. So the quality of relationship between employee and supervisor is very important. Okay, and if a manager is bad, is defined as being bad in the organization, it will result in high employee turnover. Or in some cases, where the people do not leave the organization, they will be highly stressed. Okay, so managers do make a difference at the end of the day. Okay, easy peasy so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
You're gonna find this course technically it's quite easy. Okay, some of you may have come across the concept already. There's one person in chat. Okay, but this course provides a foundation. Okay, okay, madam, fine. Now it's not working. Hold on. Okay. So what do managers do? Managers get involved in management. And what is management? Management is coordinating and overseeing the activities of other people so that the other people can achieve the organizational goal effectively and efficiently. Okay, effectively means you achieve your target. You set out to get 100 products being produced in 1 hour. You are effective when you produce 100 products in 1 hour. Okay, efficiently means you are not wasting any resources. So to produce that products, you use like 50 units of resources. And somebody else, when they're producing 100 units of product, they may use 60 units. The one that uses 60 units is more efficient. You are doing things right. There's no wastage. Okay, here comes the not discussion. I'm going to get your response to the following, say, scenario. Okay, so we have June and Cook GMT2010 in semester 1, 2019-2020. Both friends said that they are aiming for NA, not EV, NA, there's a misspell there, and both end up getting A's. June took 3 days to study for the final. Cook took 1 week to study for the final. This is the first question. Who is effective?
June.
Sorry?
June.
Both are effective.
How many people say June?
Both.
Why both?
Because they could achieve their desired goals.
Both of them get
Okay.
A.
All right, both of them got A, so they are effective. Both of them are effective. Okay. Who is efficient?
June.
Because
Because June just
He managed his time well.
sorry, he needs what?
He managed his time well by studying for 3
Just
days.
for 3 days. June is a genius. That's why you only need 3 days. Okay. So who is efficient and effective?
June.
Because he
June.
achieves his target and he uses less resources. Okay, perhaps this is not a very good illustration, but it does bring you to the point that I want to illustrate what you mean by effectiveness and what you need by efficiency. Please take note that every one of you, and including myself, we have different capabilities in terms of processing information. Okay, even if I compare myself with my older brother who's just 1 year older than me, he is very efficient, meaning he's like June. He takes less time to study things. I'm not as efficient as he is because I'm different from him. I take more time to study things, but we both end up getting A's. The only difference that between the two of us is that if we were to scrutinize our grades on an individual basis, I end up getting more marks than him because I spend more time studying. You know, I will most likely get a 95. He will most likely get a 90. But nevertheless, we are both effective. Okay, so my point is, in terms of studying, people are different. So do not get stressed out because some people get it faster, some people get it slower. The important thing is the journey. Okay, any question?
No, madam.
Okay. Is it easy so far? So there are 4 management functions that the rest, the second half of the course will be focusing on. The 4 functions of management is planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Planning is focusing on setting organizational goal, setting the strategy of the organization, and develop action plans to actually help the achievement of goal. Organizing talks about arranging your resources so that you can achieve organizational goal. If you say that you want to create a new program, for example, you have to assign academics to create that new program. You have to give them resources. Okay? Why giving them resources? Because you have defined certain goals that you want to achieve. The resources is supposed to help the organization achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Okay. The third one is leading. This is important when you are working with other people, and managers work with other people. They must convince their subordinate that they have to achieve this goal and to behave in a certain way so that the goal is achieved. That is the function of leading, working with and working through. Why working through? Certain people have to be forced. Okay? For some reason, they just have to be forced. You just have to tell them, do this, and they will do it, inshallah. But there are certain people who, because of their ability, because of their knowledge, maybe because of their skills and experience, forcing them is not going to work. So you have to work with them in order to achieve an organizational goal. Okay, the final function of management is controlling. And what controlling does is monitoring, comparing, and correcting work. You define the goal that you want to achieve in planning. In controlling, you check whether you have achieved the goal or not. Okay? And you check whether the goal is something that is suitable or enough for the organization. I would say suitable is a better word. Sometimes you set such a high standard that people in the organization cannot achieve the goal. So controlling will tell you whether the goal that you have set is suitable or not.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, and summer vacation only.
Okay. Can you mute yourself, please? Who is that? I think it's Ahmad. Ahmad, can you mute yourself? We are, somebody is speaking. Somebody is not muting themselves. They're speaking with other people.
Stop this.
Who is that? Does anybody know?
Madam, I think you can mute him by yourself.
Maybe I need to basically set up the setting.
Yeah, you just find his name, then you mute. Press the mute button.
The one that is lit up is Muhammad Ahmad.
Yes.
Ali is muted. Okay, moving on. Sometimes technology is not user-friendly. Plus, I'm not a technology geek. How I wish we can have face-to-face. Actually, I miss face-to-face. Seeing you guys live will be very interesting. And I can also see people who who are daydreaming. So that makes life interesting. So, okay. So now here we are talking about how then do managers get things done when they are in a managerial position. Managers get things done two ways. First and foremost, managers act or assume certain managerial role. The crude way you can describe managerial role is you have to engage in acting, put on different faces and put on different persona. So roles is talking about specific actions or behaviors expected of and exhibited by managers. The second thing that managers are able to do things because managers have got certain skill, which is knowledge, abilities, in which they can use in order to influence organizational members, in order to influence their subordinates. Okay, so they use this in the position that they are given. So how do managers act, or what are the managerial roles? Penny Mixberg years ago studied senior managers, followed a group of senior managers, not all at the same time, one by one. And he says that the manager basically have 10 roles that they play, which can be grouped into 3 big categories. The first category is interpersonal. Under interpersonal is figurehead, leader, and liaison. The second category is informational. Under that, you have monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson. The third category is a decisional role. Under decisional role, you are a negotiator, resource allocator, disturbance handler, and you are an entrepreneur. So let's go to them one by one. What do you mean by a figurehead? This interpersonal role, which is described as the role that focuses on building relationship with other people. When you play the figurehead role is, for example, when you are invited to give Employee of the Month award. Okay, you're the one that is going to give the certificate and the plaque to your subordinates. That is a figurehead role. Another example of the figurehead role is when somebody important is opening a new store or new building. You go there and you cut the ribbon. The act of cutting the ribbon, you are playing a figurehead role. Okay, or another example still is whenever parliament bersidang orang kata apa? Bersidang. Any Malaysians, can you help me? What does bersidang means in English or not means? Translate bersidang. Bersidang.
Is it like conference?
No, it's not. They are non-Malaysians here, so I need to explain it in English, but the word just not coming to my head.
Is it bersidang, madam? Bersidang?
Bersidang.
Bersidang.
Are you Googling it? That's
Madam,
good.
I searched it up. It's presiding.
Yes, betul. Correct. I mean, that is correct. Yeah. Whenever the parliament presiding in the new term of the year, for example, in Malaysia and even in UK, you always have the monarch going to parliament and opening the opening the parliament meeting. Okay, that the monarch, what he's doing in this case, Yang di-Pertuan Agong, he is playing a figurehead role. Okay, the role of a leader means you are trying to influence people and you are trying to get them to do what you want to do. The role of a liaison is when you are creating a link between the organization and the external party. For example, in IUM, when IUM wants to deal with KPT, not KPT, MOHI, Higher Education Minister or Ministry, they have one person who acts as a liaison, and that one person is the one that received information as well as give information. He or she is a liaison. Okay. When we're talking about informational role, the role of a monitor is to look up for information, find information. You are monitoring information. The role of a disseminator is when you disperse the information to the people inside your organization. So for example, when your normally license do this, when MOHI comes up with something new, some new policy, MOHI says that students are allowed to come in October 15, then somebody, and it's usually Osim, the communication unit in IUM, that will come up with the announcement to be announced to everybody. That is the role of a disseminator. You disperse the information to people that needs that information inside the organization. What about a spokesperson? You are basically communicating to people outside of the organization. Okay, you're a spokesperson for the organization. You're telling them, listen, this is what we want to do. Okay, so disseminator for inside the organization, spokesperson for outside of the organization. Okay, Harish, you have a question?
No, no, madam.
Okay. So finally, this additional role. Sorry?
I have a question. For disseminator, is it like delegating?
Is it like what?
Delegation.
Delegation? No, it's not. No. Delegation is when you give power and responsibility to other people. Disseminator is when you share the information that you have. So dissemination is more focused on sharing information.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
What's the difference between disseminator and spokesperson if they are both sharing information?
Yeah, disseminator is share with people inside your organization. Spokesperson is sharing information with people outside of your organization.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So one is sharing information with external parties. That is a spokesperson. One is sharing information with the internal people. That is a disseminator. Okay.
Yes.
Any question? Any other questions? Okay, now moving to the decisional role. Negotiator are managers who negotiate access or resources, who basically communicate with other party requesting for help, requesting for certain things. They are negotiating on behalf of the organization. A negotiator can negotiate on behalf of a department unit in the organization, or they can also negotiate with external parties to get resources. For example, the negotiator of IUM, whenever they are negotiating with MOHI, it's often about getting financial resources, requesting for financial resources from MOHI. It's always a negotiation. We also negotiate, especially for Malaysians. We also negotiate with other universities and MOHI for Malaysian students. The only people that we don't negotiate, no negotiation is done for international students. For Malaysian students, we negotiate. Okay, who we take or who we cannot take. Yeah, to a certain extent, we do take into consideration the what do you call that, the request of the student to join this university or that university. But in the case where the students are able to get into multiple university, then we negotiate with other universities to secure the students. Okay, resource allocator means you are allocating whatever resources that are available in the organization, within the organization. So for example here, manager acting as a resource allocator, this is an example, will allocate who's going to teach PPM at 8:30, who's going to teach PPM at 10 o'clock. We have another one at 10, who's going to teach PPM at 11:30. Deciding on the academic is an act of resource allocator. Okay. By the way, I got into this class 2 weeks before the semester started. Dr. Dewadi was supposed to be your lecturer. Unfortunately, you guys ended up with me. Why do I say unfortunately? I'm well known for being very strict. Okay. Disturbance handler. As a disturbance handler, the manager is supposed to deal with conflicts inside the organization. Conflict between organizational members. Person A and person B is fighting. They don't want to work with one another. The manager is supposed to be the person that comes in between. You are handling the disturbance and making sure that the work is going to be accomplished. Okay. Entrepreneur, final decision making role or decisional role is when you become a person that is creative, try to find a solution for the organization, something that is new, something that other people have not think about. Okay, any question?
Madam, can I have an example for resource allocator?
Like I said just now. Okay, let me give you another example. Suppose that we are having face-to-face classes instead of online classes. One of the job of resource allocators to allocate who is going into what venue at the campus. Get it?
Okay, yes, I get it.
Okay. So another example that I gave you just now, another example that I gave you just now, the department decided that we're going to have 12 sections of PPM. And the department says section 1 to 4 is going to be at 8:30. Section 5 to 8 is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. If I'm good at counting, I will be an accountant by now. 8 is going to be at 10 o'clock. Section, oh my God, 8 to 12, 9 to 12 is going to be at 11:30. Resource allocator would decide who will take section 1 to 4, who will take section 5 to 8, and who will take section 9 to 12. You are allocating the workers. Okay. Yes, sorry, you were asking, somebody was asking.
Madam, what about the disturbance handler?
Disturbance handler, bila you overtumpuk lah. Get it? When workers are fighting with one another, they disagree with one another. You need a manager to come in between. You are handling the disturbance in the organization. Get it? Don't get it?
I see, madam. I see.
Huh?
I get it now. Okay,
okay.
Thank you, madam.
Any other questions?
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Are these managerial roles different one role for one person, or is it okay to overlap?
The higher you go in the organization, the more you need to engage in multiple roles. Okay, that makes management activity very, very, very challenging. Please note that not all people can play all the roles. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need to have it? Do you need to have all? The higher you go, the more you need to have all. But not all people can play all roles. Other questions?
Yes, madam. Can I have an example of the entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur is when you try to find some new creative idea to solve a problem in the organization. That's an entrepreneur role. Okay. For example, is maybe you want to create something new that other people that have not seen in an organization before. You want to find a new solution to things. You become an entrepreneur when you introduce something that is creative. Okay, there's only one example that I can think of an entrepreneur role that depicts an entrepreneur role, and it was the late Steve Jobs when he was the CEO of Apple. He basically told his engineers that he's interested to create a device which has one button. Okay. That's why if you see your Apple have got one button, everything just one. Kalau Samsung, you have at least 3 buttons, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Samsung has got
Yes.
one button to switch on, one button to deal with the volume, and the other button, I'm not sure what it's all about. Apple, either iPhone or iPad, has got one button, which makes, to me, Apple iPhone very difficult to use. Any question? Any other question? Okay. I think another example of an entrepreneur role that was played by Bill Gates when he invented Microsoft Windows. That was an entrepreneur role. He created, or his company created a software which allows different types of computer to operate using the same software. Before Microsoft came up with Microsoft Windows, all the different brands of computers are using their own operating system. Okay. Microsoft came in, and Bill Gates created an operating system which can work in any hardware. So that makes it possible for the PC market to bloom. So because now you can use the same operating system on any hardware that you buy, whether it's Apple, whether it is what you call IBM, previously IBM and whatnot. So Microsoft is able to do something that is completely different, and that reflects an entrepreneur role by the manager. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a managerial skill. 3 types of skill that managers must have: technical skills, human skill, and conceptual skill. Okay. Of all these skill, human skill is important across all levels of management, because at every level you are dealing with people. First line managers are dealing with non-managerial workers. Middle managers, they are overseeing the work of first line managers. Top managers are overseeing the work of middle managers. So then the human skills are very important. What's a human skill? The ability to communicate with people, to work with people, to interact well with other people. Okay. Besides the human skill, there's technical skill. Those are specific know-how, specific knowledge, specific abilities that you have that is most important at first line level. You must know how to specifically do something because you are overseeing the work of other people who's actually doing certain things. Technical skills become less important as you go higher. As you go higher, however, conceptual skills become important. And this is the ability to have a macro viewpoint, to look at how things are interrelated to one another. Take a look at the description of a technique of conceptual skill. The ability to think and conceptualize about abstract and complex situation. In this case, you have to be able to see how one unit of the organization relates to the other unit of the organization and relates to yet another unit of the organization. That's a conceptual skill. It becomes more important as you get higher. So when you are in the top position, you're supposed to see the overall picture about the organization and how every part of the organization can work well. Okay. So moving on, some of the challenges that you will be facing if you ever become a manager in the future. Technology is more important. Okay, and because of technology, people are now doing virtual work. That means they're not in the workplace, they are at home. They can work anywhere. Okay. The other one is focus on destructive innovation. Destructive innovation is when you are creating something that is totally new. Nobody have ever seen it before. Something that is so different. Okay. Who came up with a destructive innovation? I think I can think of a car company like Tesla, who created a total electric car. That's a destructive organization. That is a destructive innovation. Okay. I would say what Honda and Toyota did also to come up with a hybrid car that uses both electric and petrol is also a destructive innovation because the car have got two sources of energy. The importance of social media. It's huge now. And social media is one of the way in which an organization can reach more customers. Social media marketing, very important. Okay. Focus on ethics, doing what is right and avoiding what is wrong. Okay. Connected to the issue of ethics is the Sustainable Development Goals, where the United Nations basically calls the world to change their ways so that by 2030, we actually have a better world. What does it mean by a better world? Reduction in poverty is the first goal. They want to reduce poverty around the world.
SDG.
Any question? Yeah, SDG. The university is very big on SDG. I think the world, United Nations wants to ensure there's access to clean water, that the our waterways are protected so that the fishes are protected and that humans don't actually don't actually destroy the water by throwing plastic in the ocean and whatnot. We also have access to access, equal employment rights for men and women, gender equality, some of the SDG that you're talking about. Okay. The recent United Nations Assembly, which happened in September, however, stated that COVID-19 has actually moved us backward, not forward. 10 years of efforts to make the world a better place, COVID-19 has completely destroyed it. Focus on political uncertainty, like what you see in Malaysia. Everybody wants to be the leader of the country or the state. Nobody wants to take responsibility. That's my view and my view only. And the other one is focus on customer. Okay. Any question? Focus on customer is giving customer what they want. Potentially getting involved in mass customization.
Madam,
Yes.
to answer the question, recently the iPhone 13 has been produced, and so it's like anti-repairable device. So does it one of the disruptive innovation? Like it's not
what is iPhone 13? What device did you call it?
iPhone 13.
It is
Latest.
What sort of device?
Handphone.
I know it's a handphone, yeah. Continue. You say the term. Say it slowly, that term.
Anti-repairable. So if we send to
anti-repairable.
Yes.
Meaning?
So if the phone is rusak and we send it to any kedai that can repair any phone, but it can be repaired. So
it cannot be repaired.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to go to Apple. I wouldn't actually call it a destructive innovation in that sense, because Apple have always been doing that, you know, where they create something so exclusive and whatnot. One of the things that Apple have done so far, and they do this around the world, is when they're distributing their product, they prefer to distribute their product in an Apple store. Okay, everywhere they go, they open up an Apple store. That's how they prefer it. If you want to get the full warranty of when you buy an Apple product, you have to purchase the product from the store. If you don't purchase the product from the store, you will not get full warranty for the product. Okay, so Apple have always been do that, in the sense that they created exclusivity for the access of their product. In fact, when Apple first came about and when they introduced themselves for the first time, they also did not allow any other people but themselves to produce the operating system, to write the operating system for Apple. Okay, so even though at the beginning Apple was very, very famous because it engaged in disruptive innovation right at the beginning, eventually it basically faced problem because Microsoft came in and introduced a generic operating system, which allows users to go on to any hardware and being able to use the hardware and then go into another hardware and open any file that you have in another hardware because the operating system is the same. Okay, let me tell you what destructive innovation is. Do you know the Fold Samsung?
Yes.
That's a destructive innovation.
Why?
Because, sorry? Because it's destructive because the phone, or you can open up the phone and it becomes operational. Then you can also close it, it's also operational as well. Who else have a foldable phone?
No one.
Motorola.
Itu yang dulu-dulu kan?
LG
Yang
have
dulu-dulu.
LG have the
Lenovo.
newest version.
Huawei.
They have another version, yes. Tapi the one that basically the latest generation is the Z Fold by Samsung. Okay, masa dulu memang it was Motorola that came up with a flip phone. Everybody was just doing a phone, just like that. They came up with a phone that flip opens. Other questions? Okay, so moving on, this is something that you need to be aware of, the fact that management is actually universal in the sense that all organizations, small or large, profit-making or non-profit oriented, all levels, bottom or top, they all need management. So management principles can be applied in all types of situations. So this idea is called universality of management. It doesn't matter, management is important everywhere. So what you learn here can be applied even if you decide to open a sekolah pondok. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the reality of life. I told you earlier that some of you will become managers. Some of you will be managed. Don't be sad if you're not a manager. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with a management position. Please note that not only do you have to basically fulfill that responsibility, if you accept the position of a manager in your organization, you will also ultimately be answerable to Allah. Allah will ask you, you took this position, but you did this. Please explain yourself. Okay, Allah said that He will ask people questions about their life, and those are one of the things that you should be aware of. With responsibility comes accountability. Responsibility means you have the obligation to carry out the duty. Accountability means when you carry out a duty and certain things are not achieved, you have to explain why. Okay, but being a manager does have its reward. And these are the list of the reward here. At least if you take a look at the managerial roles, for example, when you are a manager, there are different acts or different sides that you get to play. So it makes life interesting, I would say. You're able to work with a variety of people. You're able to help others to find meaning to the work they're doing. You're able to think creatively, playing the role of the entrepreneurs. Okay. That's it. Any question? This is the first chapter. So it's a relatively easy chapter. Some chapters are going to be interesting, easy. Some chapters are going to be a little bit more headache, especially when we talk about the leadership roles of in an organization. Any questions?
Madam, I have a question.
Yes.
Is it okay if I consider a leader as a manager, or is it a bit different between a leader and a manager?
What do you guys think? Are leaders managers? And are managers leaders?
I think leader or leadership is part of the managerial roles itself.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah,
I
so
think it's
So-
like interpersonal roles.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the interpersonal roles. Technically, all managers are supposed to be leaders because you do have that interpersonal leader role that a manager plays. So technically, all managers are supposed to be leaders. On a real life basis, not all managers are leaders and not all leaders are managers. Okay, so for example, while you're working and you are close to a group of people and they follow your lead, you do not have to be in a managerial position to have an influence on your friends. Okay, it's good if when you get to a managerial position, you can also assume a leadership role. That would be good. However, in a lot of cases, managers are not leaders and leaders are not managers. Okay? Does that answer your question, Hafiza? Sekejap ya.
So the managers are not leaders and leaders is not the managers, right?
Potentially.
Oh. Okay.
Potentially, yes. But in an idealistic situation, we want managers to be leaders. But that's an ideal situation. Yes, Amin, you wanted to ask a question? I think it was
Yeah.
Amin, right?
Abid.
Oh, sorry.
Can I say that leader, manager, and entrepreneur has the same goal, but they have their different job scope, which is like entrepreneurship, like Madam's slide. They are giving their ideas, and then the manager is collecting the data of the business, and then the leader is the one who are operating or run the business. Is it?
Leaders don't normally run the, I mean, when you talk about leaders, you're talking about people who are able to influence other people. Okay, so they might not necessarily be people who is operating the business activity, but they are people who can influence other people to do what they want to do. Those are leaders. Okay, and when you say that different people are playing the different roles, when you talk about the manager itself, it is best, especially when you get to the top level of the organization, if you can play each of the role that has been determined by Henry Mintzberg. If you can play all the roles, that's good. But sometimes it is a very big idea to get a person. It's not going to be easy to get a person who can play all the roles. Okay, they're going to be perhaps people who are better at being leaders, who are better at being a spokesperson. For example, if you take a look at the late Steve Jobs, he was extremely good at being a spokesperson for Apple. He was also extremely good at being the leader for Apple. Okay. Other questions? Does that answer your question, Adib?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Anybody else? No question?
No.
Okay. So that's good. We've covered chapter 1 already. I'm not going to move on to the next chapter. What I want you to do after this is go to iTaklim C and do a self-record of your attendance. Okay, and I will upload this slide on Google Classroom. Do you need the recording as well? If I did, I record.
Yes.
I think I did record.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please, madam.
Yes, please, madam.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you don't mind.
Right. Okay. I will also upload the recording. Okay. So take care. I will see you next week, inshallah. So we'll close this session. Okay.
Okay, madam.
Okay, madam.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
madam.
madam.
Stay
Thank you,
safe,
madam.
everybody.
Madam.
Unless
madam.
necessary.
Madam.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, madam.
Madam.
Thank you, madam.
Madam.
Oh, masalah, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Madam.